Welcome to the 14th day for our 14th day of Advent using our Jesse tree. We are recalling stories of God's work in the Bible, in the Old Testament up until the birth of Jesus. So we take this time during Advent to recall what God's been up to and how that whole story wraps us in, and that is part of our story. So last we heard about Rahab and the spies, this foreign woman who hid a couple of spies and protected them so that God's people could move into the promised land. So now the people have settled in the promised land, and now we're just going to veer off, and we're going to hear a little story that's kind of tucked into the Bible. Sometimes the characters in the Bible seem kind of star-studded, even when they have multiple flaws. They seem larger than life. But then we happen upon a story. She has her own book, the book of Ruth. And this, we know Ruth probably mostly because people pick a reading from Ruth for their weddings. Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your God will be my God. Where you die, I will die. That's from Ruth, and it's not a pledge of love to the love of her life that as they're getting married. At this point, Ruth is a young widow, and the pledge that she makes is to her mother-in-law Naomi. There was famine in the land, so Naomi and her husband had fled to Moab, where the crops were good and they could make a living. And they had a couple of sons, and their sons, because they were living in Moab, there wasn't a lot of Jewish women around, so they married Moabites. And then there was war, and Naomi's husband and Ruth's husband and Orpah's husband all die. The father and his sons die, and they leave behind 3 widows. And in the tradition of the Jewish people, if your husband dies, then one of his brothers will marry you and be responsible for you. But everybody's dead. So Naomi decides that she needs to return home to where her father is. And her daughter-in-laws are going with her. When she graciously turns to them to release them, saying, I will not have more sons to raise you, to care for you. I won't raise more sons. I have nothing to offer you. And her one daughter-in-law chooses to turn back to Moab. But Ruth makes that declaration, where you go, I will go. And your God will be my God. Because as a Moabite, this isn't her faith, but it becomes her faith. And Ruth is vital in our biblical story, in our biblical narrative, because Ruth marries a farmer named Boaz. And Boaz begets some other people. And all down this line, this is the line that will lead us to Jesse, the line that will lead us to David, the lineage that eventually brings us to Jesus Christ. So Ruth it's an amazing story of a simple woman who chose loyalty, who chose to do what was right for the family she had chosen, her mother-in-law Naomi, so that they would live and prosper. And part of the story revolves around the gleaning of grain in a field, and that's how Ruth becomes noticed by her future husband Boaz, who is somehow a relative to Naomi. And so our ornament for today is some wheat stalks that remind us of the story of Ruth and the part that she plays in the grand narrative of God's action in the Old Testament. Might even knock the whole thing over at this point. Have a good day.